Hello genealogists, this is Craig and it is Book Sunday. And I'm going to tell you about the new books at Heritage Books this week, of which we have 4. So the first book is Called by the North, and it's written by George Duddy, and he's a Canadian. And he talks about what happened after the whaling business collapsed in Canadian waters in the early 1900s, and how all those guys converted themselves into fur traders. And they eventually came out of the old whaling ports in California and they moved up into Alaska. And by 1914 they were also in Vancouver and part of the Canadian West Coast. The vessels include those owned or in support of large fur trading companies, and also those adventurers bent on making their fortunes in the fur trade. You've heard me say before, I know nothing about the fur trade. Arctic transportation was also provided by the expansion of the existing Mackenzie River system from the interior of Canada through the boreal forest and Mackenzie Delta. This book provides a fascinating account of the ships, shipbuilders, and navigators of these waterways, and how the Arctic fur trade, pioneered by American entrepreneurs, was finally taken over by Hudson Bay Company, of course. Expanding eastward, the company achieved many Arctic firsts. By 1930, a relay of company vessels successfully made the first west-to-east transit of the Northwest Passage, and several fur trading posts developed into permanent northern settlements. These and many other intriguing stories are enriched through 193 photographs, maps, and diagrams, appendices, a bibliography, and an index to full names, places, and subjects, all adding value to, for us, a very unique work. Lots of pictures of whaling ships and people, and good book. Actually, one I'm going to read. It's on my reading list. No, I don't read these books before we publish them. I wait until after we publish them before I read them. Then we have a couple of books by Eric Johnson. Eric Johnson is a prolific writer of generally Ohio War of 1812 texts, and he has expanded out into Tennessee and has put together a book on Tennessee regulars in the War of 1812. By regulars, we mean members of the United States Army. We don't mean militiamen from Tennessee, but he provides a vignette on individuals. And I would imagine that most of the information has come to us from the Register of Enlistments. There exists a similar work for Virginia done by Stuart Butler, which I refer to all the time, so I'm looking forward to being able to refer to this one. And I don't have anybody in the regular Army in Tennessee in the War of 1812, but recognize that there are a lot of Tennesseans in the War of 1812. That's where it got its name, the Volunteer State. The second book that he has done is a thinner piece on American prisoners of war during the War of 1812, birth, death, and parole records. And I'm looking forward to looking at this one also. He talks about also the children of American POWs who died at Quebec. He talks about the crews of various ships that were captured by the British and then ended up in prison. I'm familiar with a lot of the pieces that he has touched because I've touched them also. It's just he writes quicker than I do. He has dealt largely with prisoners of war at various specific prison camps, which I've used a lot. But this one just deals with some of the deaths, births, and parole records from those camps. And then the final book of the week is the follow-on to the book I talked about last week, the Index to Loudoun County Tax Records. This takes it from 1803 to 1817. This is by Patricia Duncan, and this will be a gold mine for post-1800 stuff relating to Loudoun County. So those are the new books at Heritage Books this week. We have several more coming next week. We're on a roll. 4 a week isn't bad. I always look forward to a new book and finding the space in the warehouse to actually keep it. This has been Craig. This has been Just Genealogy. And it's been another Book Sunday, the purpose of which is to acquaint you with what's new at Heritage Books. Thank you so much. Please subscribe if you haven't already. If you have, thank you so much. Tell your friends. I hope you have friends. Or do you spend all of your time doing genealogy and don't have any friends, except genealogy friends, who don't want to spend any time with you because they're too busy doing their genealogy? You don't have friends like that, do you? Who's to say? Only you can say. Another day, another 50 cents in debt. Thank you so much.